All right, this is a great question because this is what happened to me when I first started using fresh milled flour. So there's a lot of different things that could make your bread come out crumbly. So first, are you using a fresh milled flour recipe, or are you trying to convert a recipe that's for store-bought flour? I did that when I first started and totally did not come out the way I thought it would. Also, what kind of wheat berry are you using? Are you using a hard white and a hard red, and then maybe 20-30% of like ancient grains you can kind of add into your breads, because you're gonna need that gluten develop to be able to make your bread rise and get there. So another thing is, if you're autolyzing your flour in water and letting it sit for at least 15 minutes to an hour, 2 hours before you start putting your yeast in it. This is really important for fresh milled bread because it needs time to absorb that liquid into the flour. And this is a step I did not know was a thing, and my bread kept coming out the same, and it was so frustrating for me. So once I knew this was a thing, my bread started getting a lot better. So another one is, if you kneaded it enough, like, are you checking for the window pane test, where you can hold your dough up and you can see through it and it has good gluten develop? Is it stretchy enough and it's holding its kind of shape and not like tearing apart? So another thing that I've noticed is your weather can affect your bread also. So I live in a very humid area, so I tend to autolyze a little bit longer and let my dough rest a little bit longer also. So here's the window pane test. You'll basically hold it up, and if you can see through and it has a good stretch and it's not pulling apart, this is a good sign that your gluten is really good and developed. This can take anywhere from 8 to 25 minutes. Also, are you using too much flour? So I know I just made this video, but if you are adding more flour, it's definitely gonna do harm to your outcome of your bread. Because a lot of times with fresh milled flour, you actually the only thing you really need to add maybe is a little bit more water versus the flour, because then you're gonna run into a whole nother set of issues. So when you're using fresh milled flour, you cannot just add more flour. I would suggest a little bit more water if needed, and it's when your dough is just so firm, that's a good sign that you might need some more water. So another reason could be if you're under baking. So if you get one of these things, you can check the center of your loaf and make sure it's at 190 degrees to make sure it's fully done. And another thing that can kind of make it crumbly is if you're not waiting an hour to cut it, and maybe if you're cutting with the wrong knife. I've seen that happen sometimes, where I'm cutting with just a simple knife and not like a bread knife, and then it didn't cut it so well. And how are you storing it? Are you storing it in an airtight container? Because it can dry out pretty fast. Fresh milled flour needs an airtight kind of container, or something in the fridge that's kind of airtightish in there. But if you're keeping it on the counter, make sure you have a good airtight container. That way it can kind of contain all of that and not dry up as easy. So I hope that answered your question. I hope you were able to troubleshoot the next time you make your bread and it goes a lot better. And please drop any other questions you might have, and I am happy to help.